Good day, I guess. I don't know if it's day or night for everybody, but welcome to another episode of Tea with Rich. I am T, and this is my buddy and forever host, co-host, Rich Lyons. And today we have an amazing guest. I've been trying to get Rob Garf on here for months, would be legitimate. I think we talked about this at NRF before we even started doing the podcast. So welcome to the show, Rob. We appreciate you coming on. We promise to be gentle and expedient and all of that. But Rich, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. It's a nice, cool day here in Chicago. I like that.
What?
We're in this low 70s, which is better than the low 90s.
It's been brutal in New Hampshire. Like
And
it was
hot.
90 yesterday. It's 85 right now with like 90% humidity. I mean, look how fluffy my hair is. I mean, it's a magical thing for someone losing their
That
hair.
humidity is really puffing you up.
That's
It's
right.
puffing my beard up too. Rob, how you been, bud? I'm so excited to have you on the show. I'm not sure we're gonna get through everything in the next 40 minutes with you. I think we're gonna have to do another episode. But how you
Oh
doing?
my
I
gosh.
haven't talked to you in a while.
All is great. It's good to see both of you gentlemen. Can I say long time listener, first time caller? Like this is epic right here. Like what day is it? Because I'm gonna mark this down as a huge milestone to get the three of us together on this. It's like seriously, so much gratitude for both of you.
I'm not gonna lie, I had to tap my phone because I did not know what day it was, or what the date was.
Yeah,
I'm still in
exactly.
that
You kind
mode.
of lose track, right?
I got to put my phone in do not disturb. But no, dude, I love you to death. I loved hanging with you at NRF. I love the Garfies. We'll get to that story. I do own the privilege of actually registering you on Instagram,
Yes, yeah,
which
that was at a Dreamforce, like, gosh, I don't even know.
it was at a
19,
social.
18.
Yeah.
Yep. That's awesome.
18 or 19. I think it's the first it's the first picture on your Instagram too. So
100%,
yeah.
100%.
That's
Yeah, no
awesome.
question about it. Yeah. The
So
funny part
Rich,
is, like, my kids, of course, get embarrassed with everything I do, but for whatever reason, they love the Garfie. Actually, my older son Aiden, his friends love the Garfie so much so they put the sticker on all of their computers this year. I
wait,
finally made it.
you have a
And
sticker?
oh yeah, you don't
Oh,
have
I
to
need a
stick.
sticker.
Wait, I don't have a fucking sticker. I didn't know
Oh
you
I
had
need
a.
a
yes,
sticker.
I'll get
All
you the
right.
stickers. I'll get you the
Dreamforce.
sticker. Yeah, for
Actually,
sure.
Rich, I made Rob a wallet. I actually made Rob one of my date night wallets, and
Oh, cool.
yeah,
It's become my everyday wallet because I,
has it?
I was finding that it was just not cool just to have it on the sideline, and now it's been around the world with me. So that
Isn't
is,
it amazing how it's like how well it wears? Like it's in your pocket every day, and it still looks brand new.
it's brand new. It's brand
Yeah.
new. Yeah, I love it.
I don't have mine down with me. Rich, it's that alligator, that black alligator. I made yours. Did I make you an alligator one, Rob?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it is alligator. So, yeah, I like surprised Rob. I texted him one day. I was like, "Hey, what's your address?" And then I think it took me 2 months to send it to you.
Oh, I got it. And what you don't know, haven't shared with you, and I don't know if this will like, you know, these days having a stuffed alligator in your home might seem a little weird, but um, literally growing up, I grew up in Sharon. It's a little suburb outside of Boston, and 18 Owl Drive. We call it the bird streets because they're all different birds, and there a ton of people grew up in that neighborhood, and it's always fun seeing them around the world and how successful they've been. But anyways, I digress. And we had a stuffed alligator, like no joke. I don't know. I forget where my parents got it and why it was in our family room. I have no idea. But like then to get a wallet, it just brings back some
Oh,
amazing
that's
memories.
awesome.
I
Yeah.
love that. I have about 40 alligator hides in the studio, about 15 feet behind me. So I've got every color you could think of. No, it was an honor to make it for you. And I literally like, it's kind of funny. Rich and I were talking like, you're one of those guys I literally only see like three, maybe four times a year and talk to another four times a year. But I feel very honored and close to you. And
Yeah.
we've had we've
Absolutely.
had some deep dialogues. So it's been
Our
amazing.
our closeness and respect and appreciation goes well beyond the physical engagements we have, right? Just whether it's texts or I love TJ what you've been building on LinkedIn. Just it feels like I am staying in touch with you and you're just so raw and authentic. And then of course through
Absolutely.
this media too, just both of you, it's awesome.
Yeah, I had to take a break my last post started a brush fire, and
Yes. Yes.
yeah. Well, I don't know if we were just talking about Frank De Maria the other day, and I asked, my question is always, did you read the original one or the edited one? So, because about 4 hours after I put it up, I edited it at the request of somebody that that I adore. So, um, we're gonna do your intro, but Rich, you're going to London tomorrow. I want to ask what the London thing is because Rob, I feel like Rob, you travel like a week
No,
or
Rob
two
and I
out
were
of
just
every month.
talking. He's got a classic story, so you're gonna have to hear about his last trip. But no, I'm going to London tomorrow with the family, and then we're going to Wimbledon on Wednesday,
Oh, you are?
first time ever, and then we're
Yeah,
going to Formula One. We're going to the British Grand Prix at Silverstone Friday, Saturday, Sundays next
dude,
week. So
that
it's gonna be epic, epic.
Silverstone is legendary.
Have you been there?
Um, no, but I had a chance to buy. So at the Rob Report event, I was at. I don't remember Newport Beach. That was the Chef Kent story I was talking to
Yep.
you about. The guy that mentored us in the cooking competition. I could have bought a week, so I could have bought 5 nights and 6 days and tickets to the semifinals and the finals for like $7,500. And
Oh,
what's weird is it would cost 10 grand just to get a hotel room for a week out there for Wimbledon. And
yeah.
then another package they had was to go to the race actually as well.
What if you
Uh,
bought that and then you and I just showed up there together? That would have been crazy.
I'm on charity item auction restriction currently. Um,
Yeah.
Dylan Runny and myself and Manili were out at the Sonoma event, and they had 24 auction items, and we bought 8 of them, and I don't remember buying 3 of the 5 I bought. So
Well, from what
I
you've said, TJ, you don't have enough weeks or weekends in the year to actually take advantage of them. If you need to offload any of them, by the way, will help you out. It's a tough thing, but I'll
actually I have a funny
be there for you,
story.
my
Like
friend.
I bought last year, so I was a Mayhew kid. Anyone listening to this in New England or New Hampshire knows Mayhew, but they do an annual golf tournament. And last June, I went to the tournament, and one of the auction items I bought, because I don't get to see the people involved in Mayhew. So when they do the events and they have the silent auctions, I'm like full, like it's the monkey in me. And I bought a week at a private home on Pinehurst, and I'm struggling like when to use it. I was going to do August, and then DeMello was like, dude, it's like 98 and 99% humidity in August in the Carolinas. I was like, no, I did not know that. So I'm like trying to find time because yes, all my other auction items are I've got in August, September, and October, November, and all of that. But anyway, back to the auction item. I had a chance to go, Rich, and Shannon was like, do not. I'm like, baby, it's cheaper than a hotel. Like,
Cheaper than if you just went on your own. 100%.
so maybe someday, but right now I'm on charity auction restriction.
Yeah, my
For,
wife puts me on those restrictions too because the last one I bought was Taylor Swift in Paris, and we did that
yeah.
one.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
Well,
That,
you got to
my
be
latest,
careful.
how was
my
it?
late.
That was amazing.
It was really good. I
Yeah.
mean, you were talking about Bruce. You have to hear Rob talk about Bruce, but it was, I mean, solid 2 hours and puts on a great show. Did not disappoint. And I wouldn't
Amazing.
say I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan. I'm a fan of her,
Yeah.
and herself as a business person and what she does. And she
Right.
put on an amazing product. And I love live music, but I wouldn't say I'm, a Swiftie. How about
You're not a
that?
Swiftie, but
Yeah.
how do you not appreciate what she's
Oh, you
built,
have to,
does, and
right? You
what she
have
Dude,
stands
to.
for?
talk
Yeah.
about a story of manifesting. Like, as a little girl, she got her family to move. But, Rich, wasn't that the concert you had food poison? Didn't you get
I
food poisoning
did.
in
I
there?
did.
Oh
So you got
no.
to see
It's a
Taylor
whole
Swift with food poisoning.
I literally missed a couple songs because I was in the bathroom
Oh
puking, and then I
no.
came back out.
But you
Still had a
recovered.
good
You
time,
partied.
but I was in bed. The next day was my birthday, which was on Mother's Day, and I was in bed. I mean, I puked for real the next day 50 times,
Oh,
and then I
that's
finally got it
oh,
out of my system. So like 6 o'clock at night, I'm like, okay, I think I'm okay now. I'll stop throwing up. But yeah, it was not good.
and that's too bad being in Paris, where like the best restaurants ever on every street
It's
corner, and you're
memorable. It's memorable for sure.
full, I guess.
So Rob, before we just make this 45 minutes of shooting the shit, why don't you introduce yourself? Rich and I have known you for a while, but what
Yeah.
I've started to learn with some of the OGs that we've known forever is there's a lot we don't know. Like Catherine Murphy, Rich and I didn't know that Catherine was like an original Tomax and her father was the founder. So why don't
Right.
you take a few minutes and give us a background on yourself and kind of how you came into the realm that where Rich and I met you, because it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, where do I start? Catherine, too. Wow, one of my favorite people. I've known
She's
her
great.
forever from her Tomax days when I was an analyst. It was my only time I got altitude sickness. I flew out for their user conference. I mean, this is like mid 2000s. And of course, they had it in Utah. And I don't know, whatever reason, and I didn't think of altitude sickness because I landed. I'm like, I just want to go for a jog to clear my head and just get ready for keynoting the next morning. And sure enough, I went on a couple mile jog. In the middle of the night, I literally was hallucinating. Like I was looking, the light you have for the fire detector, and I was looking at it, it was spinning around. It's like it was really, really wacky. So then the next time I went to Utah, I knew I should hydrate and take it easy the first day. Anyways, I digress. Gosh, where do I start? I guess the way I would, or the way I do think about myself is I'm a retail guy, digital guy. I grew up in retail. So my father ran distribution for some really large brands, and I worked in his warehouse. He worked for a company called Hit or Miss, which ultimately got bought by TJX. And I also worked in a Marshalls, which was owned by
Okay.
TJX. So though I didn't like look at that and say, I'm going to be, I'm going to follow in my father's footsteps. It wasn't anything I thought of, but I kind of happened upon it in the dot-com boom. So I worked for Lids, which is the specialty hat retailer at the time
Yeah.
in the early 2000s, where I kind of manifested it. I was like, I want this role. And I just talked to the president, and she and I hit it off. She was a former Reebok executive. And I was there in the heyday where literally one of the first buy online, pick up at store initiative. We didn't know what it was, how to do it. Like it wasn't called BOPUS at the time. But like, wow, could we in the normal deliveries fulfill individual orders that are bought online? And we put red tape around the box so the person at the store knew, the associate knew what it was. And we also did endless aisle. And again, didn't know it at the time, but we actually put in kiosks.
Just to clarify here, because no one ever says the years, Rob is talking about 99, 2000, and 2001. Like, we're not talking like e-commerce of 2012. We're talking
Early.
pre-dot-com, basically skin of your teeth. Like, dude, that was super early. Keep
That was
going, man.
super early. And I knew it and I felt it, and it's what I wanted to do. And I knew there was this movement happening. And it was really fun. Like the kiosk, we rented out the space, and like basically that was early retail media because we're like, oh, new era. Why don't you pay for some, awesome visuals? And we allowed people to, because it was really small square footage, right? It was like 500, 600, maybe like the biggest store in Times Square was 1,000 square feet, probably not even. And so we didn't have every, North Carolina blue hat in every size. So we wanted to offer ability to get it. Anyways, probably too more information than you care about. But
No,
like
that's
it
great.
was early days. And then I got the bug. And really where I call it my first chapter was I was an analyst at AMR Research after that. And that's a company that got bought by Gartner. And I didn't really know the analyst game at the time, but it was just really I felt very at home with it. And that's where I met a lot of CIOs. And I mean, there weren't even CDOs at the time, like literally. So it was, if there was a head of like a director of e-commerce, you'd be lucky. But at the time, I was just helping them make decisions on big technology projects they were doing. And then worked at IBM for a little while, headed e-commerce. No, I'm sorry. I was the head of strategy worldwide and got to do awesome projects for brands around the world. But my next chapter where we met each other was Demandware. I was ready to leave IBM.
So
It
what
just
year is
wasn't.
that? What year is that?
So I was at IBM from 2008 to 2011.
Got it.
And um,
I would have put you earlier. If you asked me when you started at Demandware, I would have put you way earlier. like before
Yeah,
2010, just because it feels like I've known you for a long time.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, it was actually 2011. And IBM, I know you get really real here, and so I'll just share like great experience, amazing people, but it pulled me away from my family. I was on the road a lot. I didn't control my schedule, missed some early days, early years with my kids, and I knew it was time to, even though it was a good career trajectory, to find something new. And I poked around actually after year one. I was there 3 years, but I knew it wasn't right for me. But it took me 2 years after the realization to really find something. And fortunately, I have an amazing wife, Sherry, who was a real guidepost for me and had some opportunities to go at different places, whether retailers or software companies. But um, when Jameis Driscoll, head of marketing at the time and customer of mine at AMR, approached me, the way he approached me about it was I had a couple of opportunities and I ran it by him. And it's like, yeah, those are interesting, but when you're ready to get off the sidelines, Jameis, like he's like such a soft seller.
That's a
Like,
great sell. Yeah.
oh my, like when you're ready to get, I'm like, what does he mean? Like, is that going to put me on this? Like, it was amazing. I remember I was up in Burlington, somewhere between the mall and the office on, I don't remember what street, it might have been Mall Road. And I remember sitting outside and him saying that. And I'm like, shoot, I don't want to be on the sidelines. And sure enough, we created a position and that was the start in 2011. So we're at,
Wow.
I don't know, you probably know better than me, but I want to say roughly 30 to 35 million ARR, somewhere between 100 and 150 people. And we were at a point of cash was running low. How many rounds of investments at the time did we go through? And so it was either going to be, fireside sale or rocket ship. And you know where the story ended. But I'm going to pause there for a second because that's not the kind of short and
No,
Reader's
that's
Digest
awesome.
version, but I want to stop there because obviously it's been an incredible ride together from there. But that's where it got me to this amazing rocket ship and community that we still love and adore, and whatever it brought us together, which I value so much.
I think we're going to do another one of these, Rob, anyway, with you on it. There's no way 45 minutes is going to be enough time. We had Adam Gross on for like an hour 40. We had Frank DeMaria on for like about an hour 50. And
Lots to talk about.
yeah, lots. And it's funny, you get into these and you think they're going to bang them out in an hour. And you
Yeah.
just, I don't know. It's not like when you're talking to somebody, they just so much stuff comes out. But I appreciate that background on you. I don't even remember our first meeting. I don't remember how you got introduced to me.
I was trying
Um,
to remember that too, and I can't
and
place it either.
I don't remember. I don't think it was demand. I think you were just like this thing that I always heard about in retail practice and doing all these things. And then I met you probably at an exchange, and
Yeah.
then we spoke together at World Tour Boston in like 2018, maybe 2019. Remember we
Yeah.
did, and so we do this thing, Rich, at World Tour Boston, and Rob and I, Rob is like extra prepared for everything that he does, and I
I'm
got
glad I
like
come across
Always
that way.
very prepared in your own way, right? In
I
your
have
own
six
way.
bullets that keep me on track. And Rob gets up. We're in this room. By the way, we packed the room. There was Rob. The most packed session
Oh,
was you and I,
yeah.
and it got busier and busier. So Rob gets on the future of retail thing, and he's talking and he's talking, and we don't really have a agreed upon way of how I'm going to enter the conversation. So I'm just standing over there with my resting bitch face and my usual like being quiet, and Rob like keeps like looking at me like, are you gonna
Are you gonna
are you
say
gonna
something?
are you gonna say something? And then I open with my usual line, which is like, you know, everything Rob is saying is amazing, but I live in the reality of what all of you as merchandisers have to deal
Yeah.
with every day. And this is all great and it's amazing and it is coming and you need to be aware of it. But I'm also very painfully aware that you need to figure out how to use the synonym engine and the platform and how to combine complicated discount codes and figure out how to use customer groups or something other than, traditional customer groups. But it was awesome. We talked for like 45 minutes. That
Yeah.
was, I, 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 I think that was actually when you came to me. That was probably one of our first interactions around like, hey, would you like to come up and kind of speak with me? And we joked about like we should do this on the whole world tour.
Right? Like
Um,
take our show on the road.
it
Yeah, I
was
knew we
good.
knew each other before that, but that feels like a kind of turning moment for us
Yeah.
in our relationship because I really
Yeah.
got to understand like, okay, at the core, you just make shit, and I usually don't swear, so I just could feel it for the emphasis. Like you make stuff happen and you do it at the ground level. You can fly at the highest, but like you get stuff done. And I there was something about that time that was like, all right, I got to spend more time with this dude. Rich, though, my memories go back way before that, like obviously before the acquisition in 2016, but a year or two after I started 2011. Think about like my point of reference was IBM. So I'm like working with the big
The
consultants of
bigs, yeah, for sure.
right. So I come in and I hear your name, and the way it was positioned to me is, Rich and team know the product as well as we do. And it's kind of like, wow, this is interesting of this type of level consultant to come in at our ecosystem and build, like literally build your business on the back of Demandware. Although there was some friction one of the first times, I'm going to go off of what I was originally going to say. Brian Callahan was like, what the heck is he doing? Was it Magento
It
probably?
was Magento,
Yeah,
yeah.
right. And so there was a little friction there.
Oh,
And
there was. I mean, we added Magento though in like '09, I think, right when they came out with Enterprise. But I remember calling Brian. We'll have Brian on sometime and he'll tell his side of the story. But I was like, listen, it's going to help us sell more. Like, and it absolutely did, but it didn't seem like it was going to because when you just are doing one platform, which TJ, you guys were, so you had a different experience. But
We did
for
it in
us,
reverse. We did everything and then focused on
when
one. Yeah.
but everyone always wanted to ask us anyway, like they wanted to consider Magento and Demandware. And given the fact that we did both, then we were able to position very well and really tell the differences,
yeah,
which helped us sell because we weren't Demandware, right? So that was a big sales pitch for us. Like, well, you guys do both. Tell us the real skinny because Demandware's not going to. And so it actually really helped us. But yeah, there was some friction, but we never flipped. That was the thing that I promised Brian. Like, we'll never, ever flip a deal. I promise you that, right? Like,
yeah,
if you guys bring us in, we'll never, we're never going to go the other way.
Yeah.
yeah. And
Not
it was
unlike
healthy.
Jeff and the Gorilla Group getting
Yeah.
kicked from the
Unlike
program.
that. Unlike
Yeah.
That
that.
was
Unlike,
fun.
yes, I said it out loud. It's okay.
But I
But
remember like, yeah, it was like, but when I was introduced and then got to know the Lions Group, it was like, this is the firm you want to go with to get your project done. And that's what we needed, right? In terms of the projects done early so that we could have that flywheel created. And then I remember too, when you moved into your new office, really sweet digs and just
Yeah,
having your
In
team,
the Civic Opera building. Yeah.
yeah,
I
and
remember
just
you came and visited. Yeah.
having your team walk through just your methodology and your customers and like, okay, this is it. Like this is how we're going to grow the business with partners like you.
It was fun. Thank you
if
for
it was,
that.
there wasn't a Rich, there probably wouldn't be an us. So, and
That's
us
true.
being Pixel because we
That's
kind
you
of
guys are sweet.
we
Thank
were
you.
the next we were the we I think we I mean I don't want to go on a ledge here, but I think we were legitimately the next one to kind of come in and go all in and be impactful. And I always admired you guys. Rob, what's like your gig now? Because I know there was a period you were doing two jobs and
Yeah.
or you had two different roles. But what's sort of a day in the life for you? Because you made a comment about when you were at IBM, you missed a lot of key moments, kind of on a personal side with the kids, but. I don't know how much you were traveling with IBM because I feel like you're on the road every other week now. So what's kind of a day in the life for you now or a week in the life?
I am on the road quite a bit. Believe it or not, it's probably a ratchet or two below where I was probably in 3 cities a week with IBM. Now I do get to pick my spots a lot more, and it's where I feel like I can make the most impact. And that's oftentimes with just retail executives who I've known or who've known me through someone else and coming in more with that trusted hand in terms of being an advisor and providing as much like steady hand around where to bring the business, what technology is needed to enable that. So I guess, on paper, I'm GM, general manager for retail and consumer goods. And so in the Salesforce world, that means I roll up through the product organization. So I'm ultimately accountable for retailers and consumer good manufacturers using our product to drive their business. And in retail, that's all things around consumer engagement. In CG, it's all front office. So the commercial business for some of the most iconic brands worldwide. And so it's how they are engaging with retailers. But at the end of the day, like I'm going to quote Jenna Posner, who we all know, who she calls my superpower is I ultimately build trust and build relationships with senior executives. And I was able to do that through my career, whether that was at AMR or Demandware, because we were all not only selling technology, but we were on a mission to move everyone to the cloud,
Right.
which you look back now, you say, yeah, of course, it's a way to do it. But I mean, our battle was as much about moving from on-premise. I mean, we're in the trenches together, right, gentlemen? So, and so really helping the leaders make that change and place that bet. And it was successful, thankfully. So I'm able to do that now. The other part is what we brought over from Demandware. And it was really a testament to the value because in the integration, as you can imagine, I had a business value team of a couple of people that gets integrated into a business value team of literally hundreds of people, or a competitive intelligence team of 2 that gets put into dozens. But what did keep intact was this idea of industry insights. And through my career, it's always been that I've had data to substantiate what I'm talking about, whether that's at Lids or especially as an analyst, of course, but Demandware and now Salesforce, where we have industry insights, an outside-in view of what's happening in the industry. That manifests itself through what we have, the shopping index, which early on we're all like, there's not enough data in there and nobody's going to want to share the data. And Tom Ebling, thankfully, for so many reasons, oh my gosh, we could have an episode alone on Tom Ebling. And if you haven't already, you got to get him on the show. But anyways, he was like, we got to have this, as he called it, the network effect, and instrument the platform to get the data. And sure enough, now with billions and billions of shoppers, we now have the de facto standard of what's happening in retail. It's on Salesforce.com. So that's a huge motion for us. So Kayla Schwartz has been with me for 10 years, and Michelle Grant, Chicago native, or not native, but she's down the street from you, Rich. She's amazing, and we just get to tell stories based on this data. But I mean, I'm getting a little emotional because of thinking about this road we've been on, but also going back, TJ, to your point, and being true to, I feel like what the mission of this podcast is. Thinking about it, it has taken me away a bit from my family over time. Fortunately, Salesforce is really sensitive to that, but definitely looking to balance that. And one thing I was able to take advantage of, if I can diverge for a sec, but go back, Rich, to
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say you can travel with your kids now, which is different, right?
Yeah, and I don't do it frequently. And my wife talks about, hey, when we're empty nesters, won't that be nice to like actually be able to do it together a little bit more? But we hit a huge milestone in my household where my older son, Aiden, graduated high school. He's going off to university in the fall. He's going to Brown, and I'm just
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's no major. He has no idea what he's going to do. He's all over the place, and that's why Brown is a perfect fit for him. But he, in part, loves languages, and so he has Spanish and French fluent.
Great.
And he's going to pick up a couple more, I'm sure, over the years.
Yeah, we're going to have to come back to that because I bawled my eyes out when I took both girls to college. So we'll come back to that one.
No,
we'll come back around.
We will not be discussing children. My youngest goes to Emmanuel in Boston in the fall, and I just told a story about how I went down for orientation and I was fine, and then I got to the guard shack, told him I was a parent for orientation, and then like my entire world crumbled around me. He's like, "Dad, do not cry when you get out of the car." So we can't go there. That's amazing, Rob. I love that, and you and I have had conversations about balance and work life, and ultimately our job is to be master networkers and trust builders and rapport builders, right? At the end of the day, I mean, my relationship with you is how I got met Finn when he was at Orvis, right? And
Yeah.
so I've always adored every interaction with you, and I like that we cross the line between personal and professional when we're
Oh my
chatting.
gosh.
So
Yeah, and you
let me,
said too, I want to finish that off if
yeah,
I
yeah.
could, because there's one more point, and oh my gosh, like there's so many different things I want to talk to you both about. But I want to take us off topic for a moment, but go back in that. So bringing it back to my son, where I made sacrifices over the years, it was so important for him to come with me last week to Europe. It just happened to work out in that I had to be in Barcelona for business. He was going to be off to Austria on that Sunday after the trip he's part of the Handel and Haydn Society, which is the longest running choir in the United States. It's out of Boston, and he's doing and performing at various places in Austria. So he came with me, and like three things really just was like dad moment, if you will. And yeah. And so one is the fact that just him traveling with me, and by the way, has picked up on my travel tactics and strategies, but I got to teach him more. Like it
That's
was really
great.
awesome to see. That was one. Second is he joined me for the cocktail hour at the event I was hosting. And first of all, seeing him engage with the executives was amazing because that's not his strong suit. Like he has focused on academics,
Yeah.
where for me, it's been, like you said, TJ, the people aspect of it. Like there's a reason I got an A in keyboarding in high school. And it's not because I type 60 words a minute or whatever it is. It's because I became friends with Mrs. Hoffman and was like, vice president of student council because she was the chair of the committee, right? So like, that's how I've been able to
That's
move and
awesome.
speak and whatever. But, and also, by the way, for him to see me in that environment, because he got it and he signed this he's a smart guy. He knows what I do, but he didn't really know what I do. So have him see me in action. The other one, which is just fun to talk about, and you brought it up, is totally by happenstance, Bruce Springsteen was playing that night in the Barcelona Olympic Stadium, which we had no idea. Like he came to me, said he was touring the city, and he tried to get to the stadium, but it's barricaded off, and he thought there was a band because he heard people rehearsing. We looked online, Bruce Springsteen. When we were done with the
Awesome.
event at 8:30 for a 9 o'clock show, we looked on, it's called Viagogo, whatever StubHub is for Europe, €39 a ticket. Like the worst seats in the house, which was whatever, I don't care. We got to see Bruce together. And like, while he's not a Bruce fan, for
Great.
him to have this memory. Um, anyway, so like full circle to kind of have that moment with him uh, was yeah, really special.
I love that story. Is that the story you told me while I was
Yeah,
rebooting
yeah,
my
we're
router and my machine?
the
And
Bruce Springsteen. It's awesome.
yeah, for
Yeah.
anyone that doesn't know, this podcast would have been 15 minutes longer if my internet worked, which I feel like I complain about my internet connection every
You
time,
do, you do.
which sucks. Well, Rob, why don't we move to some Q&A? I know you have a hard stop shortly. Is there anything burning while you have Rich and I here, that you would want to ask us?
Oh my gosh. I mean, there's so much. There's so much.
We're gonna have
I
to
was
come
hoping,
back for sure.
I was,
But
I
I
was
have to
hoping,
hear
Can
about
I,
the Garfie though. I have to ask
oh,
I
him
was
about the
hoping you were going
Garfie.
to say no.
let's
Come on,
do
I
the
have to hear
Garfie.
about the Garfie.
And then I can ask both of you a question too. I
You
want to
can.
make sure we do.
Might
All
go
right.
over your time slot, but
All right. In short, I mean, people think it's just a picture with me, but where it really started was any event I would go to and I would keynote, I'd turn around and take a picture. And it was never about, and it was with the crowd in the background. And it
right.
was never about me. It was whoever I was doing a fireside chat with or somebody interesting I met while I was on the road. And I did that and I then posted to LinkedIn. And what was really important to me at the same time, I was really, really struggling with finding my persona online. I wanted to add value. I also didn't want it to be sales for whoever I was working for at the time. It was Demandware. I wanted to be authentic. And what I realized is the best way to do that is share the amazingness I experience with others in being on the road. How do I amplify that beyond the engagements I'm having, the people? Like, it's coming down to the humans. Like, this is why we're having this discussion right now, because of those moments we had, and we still do. And so I wanted to show that, and
That's cool.
and I did that, and I never hashtagged it until somebody came into my office, and this was at 5 Wall Street in Burlington. I'm pretty darn sure, I'm like 95% sure it was Emily Cates, who was social media and content manager. She's like, I have an idea. It's going to sound crazy, but what do you think about it? Hashtag Garfie. I'm like, what? Huh? Like, what does this mean? Tell me more. She's like, explaining it. You do this thing. It's really cool. Why don't we make it more of a thing? And I'm like, okay, I'll try it. And so sure enough, I just started to do hashtag Garfie.
But only on LinkedIn.
Only on LinkedIn. Twitter, I felt like, I don't know. I didn't. And by the way, I still to this day haven't figured out my voice on Twitter. Instagram, not so much either. And so I still need some guidance.
I'm more of a LinkedIn person too. I'm with you.
Oh, you're great on LinkedIn. Like, you have an amazing voice, and it's so credible.
I think you do too. And I just want to comment. I think you're one of the most authentic people I know, just to give you that. I mean, you talked about authenticity, and I think you are kind of that, right? Every time I'm with you, you're authentic, you're personable, you're warm. I mean, I love being around you. So
thank you. That, my gosh, means so much. You don't even know how much it means. Like, I try, and
you don't have to try. I guess I'm telling you, I feel it. I know TJ feels it. I mean,
Just
you're
be
that
you.
guy. Yeah.
It's Rob Garfie on Instagram for anyone listening. Rob has only made 23 posts in the 5 years that I've had him on Instagram.
By the way, you're not lying, and that feels like it's high. Where it really came, there were 2 seminal moments. So, oh man, we're gonna run out. Okay,
we're gonna do it again. We're gonna do it again, and we're gonna talk about a lot of other. We'll talk about parenting. We'll talk about.
We're gonna do another episode.
A lot of stuff.
Can we do that? Because I got to get real on that side. There's so much. Garfie, though, like, really took off is we decided with the Retail Orphan Initiative and Super Saturday, we would donate a certain amount of money for anybody who takes a Garfie with me and then posts it. And over the course of the 2 years we did that, I could be off by a little bit, but we donated $50,000 to.
Wow, that's amazing.
So much so on the second year, Noam Pransky from Tapestry was so moved by it. He had Tapestry donate $10,000 to the charity. And then the other moment, of course, was, when was it, TJ? 2021, when it was pretty quiet in NRF, and you took a bobblehead of me on a stick.
I did. I brought a Garfie, and I think
I remember that. It was like empty, right? It was no one was at that. Yeah, I remember.
I brought him to my room. I'm like, look who's in my room with me. It's Rob. We gotta pull those up. I gotta link to those actually at some point. I'll put some links up. But yeah, dude, it was awesome, and I got a lot of Garfies there. And I would do the little videos. I'm like, there's nobody here except my buddy. Oh my god, I loved doing that. I was in a tie-dye. People were like, what the hell are you dressed like that for? I'm like, it's fucking cool.
Yeah, no, you brought that to a whole other level. Yeah. But I have to say too, like, I'm like with LinkedIn, I kind of know like what posts are gonna get to certain milestones. Whenever the 2 of you are in it with me, it's, I would say, a factor of 3 times what I typically do. No joke. I mean, typically we have others who want to be part of it, right? Like, which is awesome. But I know I'm guaranteed. Or if you're posting it guaranteed, it's off the charts first, because people just want to like be part. And so I guess to put a fine point on it, what it shows me, and I've thought a lot about this, is it just represents our community. Like, that's all it does. It just represents it's not about me, and I don't do it because of me, really. I'm trying to find a way where I can maybe go in the background eventually, because it's really not about me, but it's just an opportunity for people to connect, especially
Right.
virtually, when in between the times we do it physically. And that when I think about that community, like, wow, it's we got this thing in a bottle, that we've been so fortunate to be a part of.
No Rob in the background. Don't talk
Well,
like
stay in
that.
the foreground. I
That's
agree.
horrible talk. And by the way, I'm not going to get to my question because I know you have a hard stop. So give me one more minute and I'll close all of this out. But when we do get back on, which we will, and we'll do another episode, it'll probably be about 45, 50 minutes as well. We'll get away from work and we'll talk about things we wish we did, things we want to do, right? And because we all do. I
And then
actually know
you
Rob.
get me crying. You know me. I'm a big
No,
baby.
let's do it. I want to talk purpose, because both of you had so many amazing moments, and fortunately, I've been a part of a lot of those. But I want to understand now, like, what is purpose,
Yeah.
and how do you redefine that? Seriously, can we do this really soon, a part
Yeah,
two, and get
for
like
Yeah,
that
sure.
was all about this?
Rich will reach out. Just give Rich your schedule, and we'll find some time.
Yep.
We'll do another big session. So
TJ
let
does
me.
all the hard work. He does all the editing. I just do the scheduling.
Hey, it's awesome.
Well, I want
I
to
love you
say
guys.
thank you, Rob. I love you, buddy. You're literally one of my closest friends, and we need to spend more time together. But I appreciate you coming on the show. It's an honor to know you and an honor to get to chat with you here on the podcast. Rich, per usual, love you to death. I appreciate you putting up with my antics. But for those of you still listening at minute 42-ish, Rob said shit at minute 20 and 15 seconds. He's not a swearer. I drew that out of him. I want that known. And again, for everyone still here, we appreciate you listening to another episode of Tea with Rich. Rob, don't hang up when I stop the recording, but thanks for
Thanks, Rob.
listening, and
Thank you very
stay tuned
much.
for episode 2 with the infamous Rob Garf. Bye, y'all.
Bye bye.
Take care.